with the Railroad Museum, Jim Mills, myself, the village president of McWanago was there. Tom McWanago couldn't make it. Village, East Troy, declined. And it was an exploratory meeting to see where they stand. And we wanted to make sure that the issues were all clear on what had to be done. And long story short on this is the bridge is definitely owned by the Railroad Museum. It transferred from the village of East Troy to the museum. Everything, tracks, wires, buildings, everything. And two bridges, one in the town of East Troy and one in the town of McWanago. About a month or two ago, we got a letter from the Director of Public Works for Walworth County. He said that we need you to be aware of this. There's a bridge on your town road that the railroad owns, Railroad Museum owns, and it's got some critical features on the inspection. So there's no question that the Railroad Museum owns the bridge. They took it upon themselves to say, well, we'll just give it to the town of East Troy. And of course, the town of East Troy would be on the hook for anywhere, well, the initial repairs are probably, I don't know, probably 50,000, but to replace that bridge in the near future, and we at least got that defined. If they do the repairs here, the near future is 5 to 10 years out. But to replace that bridge, I mean, it's a $500,000 to a $1 million liability for the town. So what we heard was they hold their hands out saying they have no money, and the county's saying, well, we're gonna assist here, and we said we'll assist too. But if the town ever takes this over, it'll be a board decision after it's a new bridge. Similar to how roads get taken care of, where it would be a jurisdictional transfer from one entity to the other, but you normally don't accept it until it meets standards. In this case, it needs replacement. So we're gonna have another meeting in August. I'm gonna be researching for the museum, even though they can do it, the 4 or 5 different grant programs that are out there, or reimbursement programs, that they could pay anywhere between 50 and 100% of the project. We wanted the railroad to go ahead and get estimates for what it would cost to repair the bridge and then replace it. They said they didn't have any money to even do that, so Walworth County offered under the ARPA funds, which we could do, to pay for the estimates, okay? So we have committed nothing yet, and from our board discussion that we had last month, maybe it was 2 months ago, that authorized me and Jim to meet with them. We were pretty much under the general consensus. We don't want to take on to a $1 million liability.
No.
I don't think that's changed.
Question.
But we're gonna certainly, public comments after, please. We're gonna have to decide how bad it can get. And according to the county, they said, well, get the repairs done, because those are critical, because the first step would be posting for weight, and then if that doesn't do it, then it'll be closing it. And we all know it's in the best interest of the town. Beach Road, we have a permanent easement there from the railroad to do it. So I don't think that, has there been any change on the board's mind on, you know, what direction that we're in here? That's where we're at.
No,
We have decided where we are.
no.
What you're saying is, yeah, to have this liability, $1 million or whatever it is, we're also saying is we're not shutting the bridge down.
Well,
I mean, or that's not in our best interest.
it's not our best
Emergency
interest.
services.
We can't do it.
Our police department, other, right, is what you're saying.
Yeah, to get from here
Yep.
to the other side of the S, basically.
That was a big argument of ever closing down East Shore there, was always emergency services in order to get around, so this would be another big part, not that
Yeah,
we
yeah,
wanna take on all that, but.
yeah.
That's why we're at the table.
But we also need to investigate, like Joe said, some of the grant opportunities,
Sure.
the ARPA money. There's specific DOT money set aside just for bridges. And that's.
Two of those things, yeah, and what they did say, and we wanted to find out, you know, give us some time periods or days or weeks or years, because we didn't know, but the inspector from Aries that did the inspection in August for the museum, said that, if you do nothing right now, if the railroad does nothing, and to 5 years, it'd be posted for loads, okay, so the weight restrictions would go on. And then in 5 to 10 years, shut it down, close it. And I think everybody agreed that that's not a good thing, but what we're dealing with is a nonprofit, okay? And, I don't think that necessarily gets rid of their responsibilities.
Obligations.
But one thing that I asked Jim to kind of look at, I don't know if we got to it yet, it's very likely that even if we do decide to buy it, say it's after it's fixed, whether or not we elect or approve for that, because it would be buying town, basically a town property or a town building. You know, even though it's a bridge. But we don't know that yet, is that correct, Jim?
That's correct, I have not researched that, and actually I would need authorization.
Yeah, and actually that's quite a bit down the road here, because there's no way I see from what the board has discussed here is that we're gonna go ahead and take that over and take that liability. So what we're talking about is something down the road here, you know? So we're gonna continue, we're gonna meet with them, and I'll have, you know, some options for them. I believe Walworth County's gonna also look at some of that, because they're engineers, they're highway engineers, as well as the DPW, they're well versed in the programs, do they use them also, you know? But the ARPA one is the new one, and maybe a savior, so.
Worst case,
There are tons of trucks that go over that bridge, a lot of septic trucks, a lot of food trucks and beverage
Beer
trucks.
trucks, garbage
And, you know,
trucks.
The garbage trucks, snow plows.
Yeah.
So, you know, the weight restriction is, I look at it as a major factor of inconvenience for all of the business, the town, those sort of things. So,
Alright, so that's the update, and we'll, you know, we'll meet again in August, and then I'll report again likely, since the meeting in August is, tentatively for the 18th, will be after our August meeting, so probably in September we'll
but as
get an
I,
update
as
here.
I hear you saying, it's, we feel that, well, we're hoping that we can get subsidies from the government,
Mhm.
state or federal or wherever.
Right.
But if, worst case scenario, we didn't get that, it'd be taxpayer burden, then we would have to put that out there for the public to decide whether it becomes closing the bridge or having.
Yeah, and then the responsibility of the
Like a
owner, yeah, the responsibility of the owner doesn't go away, but they could decide to do nothing. I don't know if that's legal or not.
What their decision was they can continue operation without the need of a bridge.
Sure. They don't need the bridge. We need the
no,
bridge.
cause they go under the bridge.
So there'll be an update in September on that. The good news is, this is not the sky is falling tomorrow deal. I'm glad the county got to us when they did, to make us aware of it, because we don't get the inspection reports, because we don't own the bridge. You know, we own two other ones.
Can I ask, was the county's, inspection last August?
Yes.
Is that when they did it?
And we have another one this August, because they went from a 2-year cycle now to a 1 year because of the critical nature, so
Okay,
they'll be doing one coming up again. And those things don't go real fast, you know, but the bridge is only 41 years old. But it's the design of it that's kind of terrible, because it's using floor slabs, roof dress floor slabs, you know, slabs, you know, so it's not a good way to build for it. They wouldn't do it now, they like that, so. Okay, review audit recommendations, we had some follow-up on
I have a
that.
question.
I'm gonna do that, in comments after we're done with this. Review audit recommendations, is there anything that we have to get?
Michelle was looking. Yeah, unfortunately, I, just recently reached out to Wendy at Baker Tilly, just with some general questions on the costs, to build a capital asset plan. And she has suggested that we get together in person to kind of just talk through that. So I should be able to provide an update either at one of our special board meetings.
So it sounds like you'd be able to, if she
Give me
does
some
that.
ideas, estimates on costs, and if there's a modified approach. You know, I asked, can we just start from one day forward, plus our, you know, major land and buildings? Can we use current assessed value if we don't have records of things like that? So those are the kind of things she said it'd be easier to talk in person and figure out if it makes sense to go forward with a capital asset plan.
And we decided that the insurance was not the route to go on that short term with the high balances with tax money. That would be a transfer situation, that Mary says is quite, painless. And she also suggested that getting with the village, because they are doing that. So that would be something to do there. Okay. Is that
Is it like a daily balance transfer?
It's an electronic transfer of funds on a table that we, or on a schedule we would decide. But it's controlled, Kim would control it, it's just that it's gotta be set up. Once it's set up, it's like doing your transfers in your checkbook, same thing. And again, it's for short
To
term.
limit our balances
Yes,
that are over.
yeah, the taxes coming in before we ship it right back out.
We have $1 million days.
And obviously FDIC is only 100,000. It's
Yeah, and I'm surprised that has changed, it's been that way
For years.
forever,
I guess it was 100 when I was in banking.
yeah.
Are you dating yourself?
Okay, all right, anything else on that? We're good there, okay. Lakeview Man District, Potter Lake weed disposal, did you add that one, Michelle?
I did not.
I did.
You did? You did? Okay.
I'm only speaking out of a concerned citizen regarding, the disposal of, weeds on farmland. Concern is, just the proper composting methods, the, licensing and the permitting for doing so that, I guess the fear is that there's toxins leaching into the groundwater, the fair smell, it's just, I guess, all in all, I just feel that, I don't know if this is a town issue, because the way it speaks of it, I mean, the weeds are coming from the lake districts, they're being put on private property, I mean, the owners of these properties are allowing that to happen. So, I mean, they're the compost site, the haulers are from the lake to the private property, and then the DNR is basically the regulators, they're the ones who are the permit and licensing agency to, basically, you know, I don't know how they enforce
Okay, all right,
site inspections, but that's the concern, and so with that, it's a.
all right. Little history on this, you know how this thing all started up. I think it was the Friday before 4th of July weekend, holiday weekend. Ken Zest started sending out a whole bunch of, emails and questions and requests. And I told him, that, you know, I'll do some research on it, but I'm not gonna bother, you know, Rick Sponholz on a holiday weekend. I will go out there Tuesday morning, and they did. Went out there Tuesday morning, looked at it, I don't know, 20 little piles out in the middle of his 40-acre hayfield. And I stopped there, he wasn't home, I stopped at Kim's house, he wasn't home either. So I followed up with, 3 or 4, DNR people that know, you know, what this is all about, including the one that manages it statewide. And first of all, the 2 manning districts, they're not under our thumb, they're not under our control, they're nothing to do with us. They have their own board, they have their own budget, they have their own elections, they have their own taxing authority, okay? So how it's handled is the management districts have to annually or whenever the heck it changes, get a permit application to the state for their weed management plan and fill out the form, and the form says where you're putting it. And they'll look at where, you know, it's normally a land application, which is exempt from compost and any of the solid waste regulations. It's land application, it's fertilizer, okay? And, the people that want it are, well, Greg Sponholz, of course, is an organic farmer, you know, so that's what he wants. Nurseries, you know, begging for that stuff. So we don't get involved with it. The only way we really got a little bit pulled into this, a request was made by the management district to, take 1 week's worth out to our compost site, and dump it there and see if it becomes an issue. And I asked Greg,
I was out there the other day and they haven't started.
no, they didn't do it, so apparently their site in the town of Troy, I believe, is taking everything. So we don't know, you know, if it would work or not on ours. So I think the only way we would get involved is if one of the management districts requests of the town, because they need our permission to put it there. They'd have to then amend the permit application, but it'd still be yes, saying yes or no, but, you know, I think to even know it's gonna be an issue, they'd have to do it, but it doesn't sound like they're gonna need it. Don't know.
Yeah, and I guess because if we took on that task of putting it over on town property for a compost site, then we're the facility that has to compost it and with the proper method, overturning it and what, and the license, like you say, I mean, I'm just going on the rhetoric that with the conversation that took place. And, but Kenny thinks also that maybe we should, just kind of make sure that these, the composting of these farmers and, or where it's distributed is properly done. And I just,
That's the DNR's responsibility.
that's kind of,
And the DNR would be the one that would cite them too. And which court would that go to? If the DNR cites somebody in the town of East Troy, does that go to Elkhorn or
It
does it
doesn't come here.
come here?
No, it does
It
not.
does not come here. Okay, so we would never see that, you know. So I guess I'll keep an eye on it. I mean, you know, this has not been an issue ever brought up, ever. So all of a sudden now it's an issue.
It's my understanding Greg has done it previously as part of his organic farming.
I was just trying to help answer questions.
Yep, understood. So we'll see, and, if I find out that we actually tried a week, we can see what happened at ours, you know. And our compost site is licensed because it gets inspected, you know. And it's been a compost site ever since the dump closed, you know. And we keep a compost site. And where would people take their leaves and brush and whatever if we don't have it, you know, so.
I just had a quick question on the compost site, when I was out there. How much of that area can be used as, I mean, I'm assuming that whole,
That'd be a
well,
question.
very large property, but
Yeah.
is it everything that's mowed, so to speak, is kind of a ballpark of how much land usage
Yeah,
there is for
it's
that?
it's 40 acres and they're using 1 acre, right?
Right, that mowed area or whatever.
Yeah, and, could it be used other places? Sure, you know, again, but it'd have to be spread out, you know? That's where a farmer comes in handy, because they normally just.
Right.
It has a
First
natural
part.
bevel to it, to the south.
Oh, no, I see that, I'm just wondering, because it was a certain, you know, it was a roll dump at some time, so, but you can't use past this point because, whatever.
As far as I
Was any
know, but that's a
restrictions?
question for Greg, and, I don't think so, because, the thing was always designated as a 40 acres, you
Gotcha.
know? But- Okay, review chapter 220 of town code, we would all look at this and see if there was any, changes. That would be a good idea. One thing that,
That was fast.
yeah, I didn't get to that yet. Was this gonna be going back? Did you want this back? Yeah, this going? Can I keep this to the end of the meeting or drop it back? Okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. All right, I'm gonna find now my 220. But one thing that's, we should consider on this, you know, when the last time we did the code, you know, chapter 220, we had 3-man board. Now we have 5, so that
Yep.
does have some effect on some of these.
That was my first point, yep. In, point number 3, it says, a special meeting may be called in writing by the chair or any 2 members of the board, and my question was, is that intended to be a majority?
Okay,
Or was it-
or say 3. I mean, again, we're a 5-person board at least to the year 2030, okay? Probably forever, because it normally doesn't go back.
It's just say by the chair or 3 members.
Okay?
Or a majority, or, no,
That is a
you wanna
majority.
specify
That-
3?
Yeah, that
You wanna
would be,
specify?
it would be a majority then.
Right, but I'm just,
How to say it, you're saying?
But if you use the word majority, then you
Then
won't
you
have
don't
to
have
change
to
3 to 4 to
change it.
4 to 3 to, if your
Right.
board
Sure.
member changes.
that was my point, thank you.
Or if someone's absent.
Yes.
All right, yeah, good point there. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I have the next, under chairperson, item number 1, it said, the clerk should be provided to the clerk at least 5 days prior. The only problem with that really is planning commission is the Wednesday before, so that way, the agenda can't be done until the Thursday or Friday before the meeting. That's why it's always so tight in the timeline, and why it doesn't go out earlier. Because we have a lot of times, because of the constraints with the county, commission to the town board to the county, that issue has to be on that agenda right away. It can't wait another month
Right.
to be acted on. So that's
Well,
why
can
it's like
we-
tight.
Can we modify the planning commission schedule?
You still have to have 2 meetings for planning commission. You're still butting up against deadlines for the county stuff. That's why, I mean, I tried to do it Thursday. I mean, I had it done this past Thursday. But because I'm all by myself, I wasn't able to deliver. The police department's short-staffed. DPW is busy. That's why I did not hand deliver packets to everybody. And just sent the email saying, please pick them up,
That works perfect. You
Yeah.
don't, there's no need for you to, I mean,
to drive around all over the town.
no,
Right.
you have other things to do, we can pick up our own stuff, in my opinion, but,
Yeah.
Agreed.
That could cut off the time, cause
yeah.
a lot of times the police would drop them off, but if they have a call or something going on,
Yeah,
they put them
yeah.
in, they
Put them in our
And
mailboxes, there's no
you know,
reason to use your guys' time to drop that off to us,
Yeah.
I mean, we're all good in the community.
I usually,
Mhm.
but not an officer, I usually hit Greg up to do it before he leaves on Friday, but everybody's kind of crazy.
Well, and I think you sent some electronic documents as well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I always email the agenda, cause I need the feedback before we say it's done. And once it's done, it's gotta be done, so the stuff can be done afterwards. The posting, the packets, everything. So it's like, it throws a real wrench in the process when and I asked for, please tell me by Thursday morning at 8 o'clock if you have any changes, and then somebody emails me at 10:30, and it's like, sorry, it's done. So, that's just not cool.
So is pretty much what you're asking about is like the 5 days prior to the meeting is kind of impossible the way the planning commission
Yeah.
felt. So either we change the date of, in order to make that work, we change the date of the planning commission meetings, or we change the date of our meetings, right, or the time.
Right, and like our
Schedule
planning
for-
commission stuff
We make
is
it 3 days,
published.
is that like the,
Yeah, I think we should make it like 2 or 3 days, well,
It will affect
3
you
days, 'cause
eventually,
that would be the
because we're
Thursday.
supposed to.
yeah,
Yeah, so 3 days, that gives the whole weekend, I mean.
yeah. So if
Oh,
I
I was
have
gonna
this
ask
stuff,
Saturday, most
Business
Saturdays,
days
Friday,
or-
right? Friday morning.
Calendar days.
well,
well, if I
Friday,
have this
Friday.
stuff Wednesday, I get the stuff from planning commission on Thursday morning I can do my stuff. So if everybody has their stuff to be on Wednesday, I just have to wait for planning commission's decisions, whether things are approved or whatever, or if it's tabled, whatever I need to put on this agenda. So if this stuff is to me on Wednesday, that will work.
So what is your recommendation for the language?
I would get rid of the 5 days, and so, by 3 days, cause that would be Wednesday, right?
It would have to be posted Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday, right? So it'd be,
Yeah.
by
Are
Friday
you saying
afternoon, you would have to have
three
it posted.
Business?
But, yeah, I have to have it posted, yeah, I'm saying business days,
Okay, so I think we should add that in,
3 business
3
days.
days, okay.
because I think some of us were assuming Friday, Saturday, Sunday counts.
Yeah.
Oh,
as
no,
three
no,
days.
no.
That's what I was thinking too, that's what I was
So,
thinking.
we need to be specific.
Alright, so far we have under 020, we have number 3 changed to majority, instead of 2 members. And 030, number 1, we changed 5 days prior to 3 business days prior. Okay, next one,
I may have just missed it, but chapter 2.20 is essentially your guys' bylaws,
this
correct?
is our bylaws for running meetings.
Okay, appreciate it, thanks, sir.
I had on point number 4, and it's semantics, it isn't a big deal, it says, the chairperson is entitled to vote on all the questions before the board. I was just thinking the chairperson is a voting member of the board.
Yeah, again, that was
Like
added,
in mayor, like cities and stuff, the mayors don't.
they act as a tiebreaker there.
Okay.
Yeah, so they don't have to vote unless the tie is evidence here. We added
Like
this
I
one
said,
here,
Cause someone
This-
wouldn't vote.
yeah, he refused to vote. Yeah, so we put that in there. I guess we're saying entitled, maybe, it should say required. instead of the title. I mean, that's why
Or
we
you
had.
can't force someone to vote if they wish to abstain.
Oh, yeah, like, say, or accuse yourself too.
I think it's fine the way it is.
Okay, yeah, and then in point 5, we talked about a vice chairperson
Which
shall
we
be
did.
elected. And I just wondered if we should just add the sentence of the role of the vice chair is to act as chairperson in absence, or some, along that line, what the role of the vice chair
I
is,
think that's a
only
good
as
idea.
needed.
Act as chairperson in the
In the
chairperson's absence.
absence, like.
I thought it said that here.
No, because that was one of the questions I had originally.
Yeah, I thought I seen it somewhere else, in there, maybe not. Okay, that's a good point. As chairman.
In the absence. That takes away any of that discussion.
Right, when there's new people or whatever, yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have anything on the first page, 2-7? Good, no? Okay, powers and duties, that's the officers handbook. The order of business, we could amend that, we don't have the communications committee in there, cause it's new. The other ones, I believe, was the park committee, fire district, airport. Well, the airport, we have a representative, and he contacts me if there's anything, important there, but it's very, very